Hi guys, very good evening. In the last video, we have learned introduction to Java, what is history of Java, what are Java buzzwords, what are features of Java, what is bytecode, what is platform independent, what is JVM, what is JIT. All these topics we have learned in the previous video. In today's session, I'm going to deal you the contents, constructors, nested class, method overloading, this keyword, and last but not least is the garbage collection. So let us deep dive into the following contents. So constructors, basically they are called as special methods of a class which are used to create and initialize the objects. Now these constructors play a major role in terms of your OOPs. Okay. Now let's explore into the different types of constructors and their usage. Now, I'll start with the definition. As I said, constructors are special methods of a class that are used to construct the data, and they are also used to initialize the objects of that particular class. It is called automatically when the object is created, right? This statement have a meaning here. I'll say you. Let us suppose I have one method in my class get. Okay. So in order to call this method, I need to create object for that particular class, and I need to call the method in the following way with the help of object. So this sort of calling is called as explicit call. Okay. Now, such type of calling procedure is not required for Java constructors in Java, right? So what they'll do is the moment you create object, constructor gets called automatically. This concept I can say again implicitly. Okay. So whenever you create object, constructor gets called implicitly. That is automatically. And constructors are important as they ensure that objects are properly initialized and they are ready to use. Okay. Now there are some characteristics of the constructors. First thing, how we can say that a given method is a constructor. There are some characteristics. First characteristic is class name and constructor name should be same. Is it point clear? So first thing is my class name should be equal to constructor name. Right. Next one, constructors are called implicitly when the object is created. Right. As we have discussed now, constructors directly they gets called implicitly with the help of object when it is created. Now constructors will not have any return type. As they don't have return type, they cannot return any value. Example, if I declare a method, I'm going to declare in this way, public void get. Let us suppose get is my method. So for this method, you can have return type. But for constructor, this return type is not allowed. Constructors does not have any return type. Okay, so they can't return any value. Now there are some accessing procedures provided by 3 access specifiers in Java. Fine. So first one is public. So when instance variables and methods enclosed in a class with this public access specifier, then those variables and methods will work inside the class as well as outside the class. When the same instance variables and methods are declared with private access specifier, they'll work only inside the class. They are restricted to only inside the class. Clear? When they are declared with protected access specifier, then those variables and methods will work outside of the class as well, because it also acts as public to package. Is it point clear? Now, to start with the types of constructors, let us go about the first topic. Okay. So default constructor, these are types of constructors. First one is default, second one is parameterized constructor. Now, what is a default constructor? So simple definition, the constructor with no parameters in it refers to your default constructor. And a constructor with parameters refers to parameterized constructor. Clear? The default constructor is automatically created, okay, by the compiler if No constructor is defined. It initializes the object with the default values. Clear? Now, parameterized constructor allows to pass arguments. Parameters are nothing but arguments. So when you're working with these parameters, nothing but you're working with arguments because one and they are same. While creating objects, it helps initialize objects with some specific values as you are taking parameters. Clear? Now let us go into the examples. First, syntax. Now how we are going to declare and define a constructor. As we have seen, constructors are declared using same name as that of class. They can have parameters and they can have a body to define initialization logic. Okay, then how we are going to invoke the constructors? The only thing is you are going to create dynamic memory for that object using new keyword. Okay, then they return a new instance of that particular class. Now, initializing instance variables in constructors. So constructors are commonly used to initialize those instance variables with specific values. This ensures the object is in a valid state upon creation. Fine. So now this is the syntax, and there are some points to be remembered to work with these constructors. So first thing, constructor should always be with public access specifier. Constructors allow some expressions for doing some calculations. Okay, when return type is specified for a constructor, then it becomes method of a class. So generally I said for constructor, there won't be any return type like this. Public void. So this void return type shouldn't be there for the constructor, right? An object can interact with constructor for maximum of once. So when you create object, that object interacts with the constructor only for once. In order to interact with the constructor for the second time, you need to create one more object. So this is the syntax, public class name, because you don't have return type here, like void, it is not there here. So no return type. This is public and this is class name. Okay. And in that, you're going to work with statement 1, statement 2, and a number of statements. Clear? So now let us start with the first type of constructor, that is default constructor. So just see, focus here. I'm taking a class by name add, and I'm declaring 3 instance variables, A, B, C. Now you can see directly I've specified here, this is default constructor, constructor with no parameters, right? You can see here, this is constructor and there are no parameters in this. Is it point clear? There are no parameters in this. And how can I say this is constructor? Only thing you need to note here is class name and constructor name should be same. Second thing, constructor should always be declared with public access specifier, and there should not be any return type. I didn't keep either void or int like that. I didn't place anything here, right? So there won't be any return type for constructor. So directly public add. Now what I'm taking here, a value I'm initializing to 10, b value as 20 in this constructor. Next, I'm taking one more method called calc. Now you can see the difference. This is constructor and this is method, right? How it is method? Because we're using return type here, and also class name and this name is not same. So this is called as your normal method, right? So C equals to A plus B, you're going to calculate. Then one more method you are going to take here, public void display. In that you are displaying all the 3 values, A, B, as well as C. Clear? So here it is, till now the class is completed. Okay, the class add is completed. Now I need to declare one more class where main method is there. Okay, so I'm going to take class constructor with main function or main method. Then I need to create object to the class. So how am I going to create? My class name is add. Add obj equals to new add. Okay, this is how I've created object. The moment you create object, implicitly the constructor gets called. That I've specified here. See, now I'll say that statement after this. Let us focus on next statement. Obj.calc. I have created object to a class and I have called that method calc with the help of object. So this is called as explicit call, or this is called as message passing. When I say obj.calc, cursor goes to your calc method, okay, where c equals to a plus b will be calculated. A value will be taken as 10, right? B value will be taken as 20. Now you can see from where you got this a and b value. Did you call like obj.add? Here you have called obj.calc, but you didn't call obj.add. Why you didn't call obj.add? Because add is a constructor. You should not call this constructor with the help of object. So what you are going to do is, how you are going to call the constructor then? There is no specific call required for that. The moment you create object, constructor gets called automatically. So the moment you create object, cursor goes to your constructor with a value and b value recorded as 10 and 20. Then again, obj.calc, cursor goes to calc method and is going to take c equals to 10 plus 20, right, which is 30. And after that, cursor returns to, control returns to the starting position again to the calling function. Again, obj.display. So cursor goes to your display method with by printing a value, okay, which is 10 plus, it's nothing but concatenation operator. You are appending space here, right? So space plus again concatenation operator. You are just appending this b value, which is 20 plus again you are appending space 30. So these three values will be printed with spaces. Is that point clear? So creating object and with the help of that object calling a method. This calc is a method and display is a method. Calling that method, this concept is called as message passing, because you are passing a message to the method of a class with the help of object. So this is one thing. And how you can say that this is default constructor? Because there are no parameters in it. So when there are no parameters, you need to create the object with no parameters in a class. Is that point clear? So this is called as default constructor. Now we'll start with the next concept, that is parameterized constructor. Name itself suggests constructor with parameters refers to the parameterized constructor. Okay, so more than one parameterized constructor can be enclosed. Here you need to write more than one parameterized constructor can be enclosed in a single class. Right, when you are enclosing more than one constructor in single class, that concept is called as constructor overloading. So here we are going to learn what is constructor overloading and what is method overloading. Name itself suggests constructor is nothing but you overload the constructors. Method overloading, you are going to overload the method. Fine. So now the point is, when more than one constructor is enclosed in a single class, they will be differentiated by list of parameters. I'll say this. When you are enclosing more than one constructor, suppose I'm enclosing one constructor by name add. One constructor is completed, right? I've just written some statements. Then I'm going to create one more constructor. Now this can be with int x, one parameter. Okay. Now I can create one more constructor with same name, add int x comma int y. Okay. In the same way, okay, I can create one more constructor, add with float x comma float y. Right. So what you have done here, you have enclosed more than one constructor into a single class, but differentiating them with list of parameters. Here no parameters, here one parameter of integer, here two parameters of integer, here two parameters of float. So as they are differentiated in terms of their data types and their count, right? So this is called as your parameterized constructor. You can enclose in a single class. So when parameterized constructor is enclosed in a class, object with default constructor is restricted. So when parameters are there, you can't create object with default constructor. Now come to the point, the syntax of that particular constructor. Class name. I didn't specify here anything, access specifier like public or private or protected. Even though if I don't specify anything, by default, these are public. So public class name with list of parameters, statement 1, statement 2, so on up to statement n. Okay. Now let us go with one of the example. This is parameterized constructor. The same thing. Put your concentration. Class add I have taken. Okay. Next, I've declared 3 instance variables A, B, C. Now you can see here, this is parameter constructor with parameters. So this is called as parameterized constructor. You can see public, my class name is add, constructor name is add. There is no return type. So, and there are 2 parameters. A constructor with parameters is known as parameterized constructor. Now you can say A equals to X, B equals to Y. You're going to store this X value into A and you're going to store Y value into B, right? Now this is class or a method. Sorry, is this a constructor or a method? It's a method. It's not a constructor because CD, but class name is add. Both are not same. So this is not constructor. This is going to become a method. Now C equals to A plus B I'm calculating and I'm printing the value of that. Now I need to create a main function as well as object, right? So class constructor, and I've declared a main function here. Okay. Now I have created object for parameterized constructor. Add obj equals to new add. While creating the object itself, I need to declare the variables because constructor gets called automatically. Either you can declare variables or you can declare values. Right here, I've created object. When I'm creating the object, I've taken 45, 55. So constructor gets called automatically. You're not calling explicitly. Object is created, then constructor is called automatically. Right. Now X value will be 45, Y value will be 55. That will be stored in A, B, and C equals to 45 plus 55, which is nothing but 100. Now it is going to print these values 45, 55, and 100. Right, because you are calling here obj.cd. When you say obj.cd, cursor goes to your cd method and is going to calculate this and is going to print the values. Clear? Right. Now, as we have discussed till now, default constructor and parameterized constructor. Now, this is what constructor overloading. Okay, let us go with an example. See, I've taken my class as add, the same thing, and I'm going to take int a, b, c, then float p, q, r. Now you can see 3 constructors I have taken. Okay, this is add is my class name. So add is first constructor, add is my second constructor, third, this is add, right? Now what I'm going to do is, in the first constructor, I have taken single parameter. In second constructor, I have taken 2 parameters, okay, of integer type. You can see here, this is integer, this is integer. And in third constructor, you have taken float, okay. You have taken 2 parameters, but they are of float type. So now you can see 3 constructors you have declared and the list of parameters are changed. One constructor have only 1 parameter. Second constructor have 2 parameters of integer. Third constructor have 2 parameters of float. So you're differentiating them with list of parameters. And see here, this class add is started here and it is going to end after display methods. Okay, that we'll see now. Okay, so all these 3 constructors are declared in a same class, differentiating them with list of parameters, which is called as constructor overloading. Clear? So now you have done till this point. Okay, now the first method you're going to take, public void cd1. In this, you're going to calculate c equals to a plus b and you're going to print the values. cd2, again, you're going to take r equals to p plus q and you're printing those values. Okay, up to here, the constructor is completed. Sorry, the class is completed. Now, I need to create a class with main function. So I have done class constructor overloading conover. It's up to you. You can take your own names, right? So now I need to create object for interacting with the constructors. Now you can see, as there are three constructors, I'll show you. As there are three constructors, first object should be created to interact with first constructor, right? And second object should be created to interact with second constructor. And third object should be created to interact with the third constructor, right? So totally I need to create three objects. Now you can see add obj1 equals to new add of 12. When I say new add of 12, cursor goes to the first only one parameter where x value will be stored with 12, a equals to 12 and b equals to 30. Now let us see what all the things we are going to have. So I have three objects. Okay. First object is obj1. So in this obj1, you have a equals to 12, b equals to 30, and you have x value also. That x value only you are assigning to your a value. Clear? Now, object 2, right? Here you have again, what are those? X value, y value, a value, and b value. X and y value, those are taken the value with the values which you are going to send from the main method. Okay. Now you have object 3. Now what this object 3 consists of? It consists of float x. All these are integers, right? Now this consists of float x, float y. Okay. And also it consists of p, which is assigned with x value, q, which is assigned with y value. Clear? So all these three things are present. Now, when I say obj1.cd1, now obj1 consists of 12, right? Because you're calling with obj1. So obj1 consists of 12, and this is for single parameterized constructor. So cursor goes to single parameter, right? So it is going to take a value as 12, b value as 30. Clear? And when you say obj1.cd, it is going to print with these values because in this obj, a, b values are these. So it is going to print, what is going to do? C equals to a plus b, which is nothing but c equals to 12 plus 30, which is nothing but 42, and ABC values will be printed here. Okay. Now, what is my second object? Object 2, which is created with 45, 55. Those are integers. So cursor goes to your integer where x value is 45, y value is 55. So you are going to take 45, 55. So a value is assigned with 45x, b value is assigned with 55y. Okay. And afterwards, what you are going to do now? You are going to call obj2.cd1. So object 2 is calling. Okay. So what all the things present in object 2, those will be taken here. Instead of a, b, 12 and 30, this is for object 1, but in object 2 we are calling. So it is going to take 45 and 55. Clear? So now it is going to become a equals to x, b equals to y, a equals to 45, b equals to 55, and you'll say object 2.cd1. When I say this, it goes to object 2.cd1, c equals to 45 plus 55, which is nothing but 100, that will be stored. This is 45, this is 55, this is 100. Clear? Now the last one is object 3.cd2. When I say object 3.cd2, cursor goes to your cd2 method, right? R equals to p plus q. So you have taken here, okay, x, y, and p value will be stored with x, q value will be stored with y. Okay. So what are those values? You can see here 14.25, 10.26, right? So now it holds 14.25, 10.26. So x equals to, it is 14.25, which is nothing but a p, and q equals to 10.26, which will be calculated here, right? In the CD2, r equals to p plus q, and it is going to print p, q, r values. Is that point clear? The only reason is using three constructors, differentiating them with list of parameters, which is called as constructor overloading. Is that point clear? Right. So this is the example for constructor overloading. Now, what are the best practices and tips for using these constructors? So first thing is consistent name convention. So you need to follow the consistent naming convention to improve the code readability as well as maintainability, some features like that. Then avoiding unnecessary constructor calls. If there is only required, then you need to call the constructor. If there is no requirement, no need to call that. Okay. So you need to avoid that calling constructors without any object creation and resource usage. Fine. And proper use of constructor overloading. As we have seen, constructors overloading, it's a bit confusing, right? So you need to properly use that constructor overloading point. Clear? So finally, I would like to conclude this constructors topic as constructors are essential in Java as they enable proper object initialization and encapsulation of the data. Now, understanding the different types and usage of constructors is fundamental to writing the efficient programming language as well as to maintain a reliable Java code. Clear? So this is all about the constructors. So in the last video, we have learned regarding the concepts of constructors, types of constructors, how to create object, what is constructor overloading, what are the properties of constructors, and all the topics related to constructors with examples that we have seen in the last class. Right. So this class, we're going to learn the concept of nested class. So to start with, what is nested class? Generally, you know, in terms of C language, we have if. Okay. In that if condition, I'm going to insert one more if condition. So the if condition which is enclosed in another if condition is called as nested if. Right. In terms of your C language, there is a concept called structures. A structure which is enclosed in another structure is called as nested structure. In the same way, if I take the subject called DBMS, there we have queries. Okay. So a query which is inserted in another query is called as a nested query. In the same way, nested class is nothing but a class which is created within the other class refers to your nested class. Clear? So nested class, we have four names for that. Container class, it is also called as composition class, inner class, or synonymous class. Clear? So to interact with the properties of nested class, two or more access operators are used. So access operators are nothing but dot operators. Is that point clear? Access operators are nothing but dot operators. So generally, if I have a method like this, get method. So to call this get method, I'm going to call in this way, obj.get. So only one dot or dot operator is used, right? Now, in order to work with nested classes, you need to take the help of two or more access operators, obj dot, some obj1 dot, some get method. So this is how we are going to use two dot operators. Okay. Now, the relationship which it creates between the classes among the nested class is has a relationship. This is very important interview question as well. So in terms of inheritance, we have a relationship among the classes, which is a relationship. Whereas coming to nested class, there is a relationship among the classes that is has a relationship. Now let us know with the syntax of that nested class. So this is class, outer class name. Okay. Then in this outer class, you have instance variables, you have methods. Okay. Now you can see here I've opened the outer class and here I've closed the outer class. So in this outer class, I have declared inner class. A class which is declared in another class, this is called as your nested class. Hope I'm clear, right? So now there are some points to be remembered to work with these nested classes. As we have discussed, two or more access operators are used. Then outer class methods can access inner class methods, since the object of your inner class can be of instance variable of outer class. Right, the object which you are creating for inner class, that can be as instance variable of your outer class. Okay, that object is considered as instance variable of that outer class. Now, inner class methods can be made up of access properties of outer class, making an object of outer class as an instance variable of inner class. Now you can take the outer class object, okay, you're going to make the instance variable of inner class so that it is going to act as inner class method access of properties. Fine. Now, to create an independent object for nested class, the following syntax is used. First is outer class name, followed by inner class name, okay, with this object equals to object dot new inner class name. This is a syntax to create your object. Clear? For nested class. Now I'll say you one of the example. Okay, just listen carefully. You have one class by name employee. In that employee, I'm taking employee code as well as employee name. Now I'm taking get method. In that I'm assigning the value for employee code and employee name. Okay, now I'm taking display method. I'm printing that code as well as name. Right, now you can see very clearly, this is the starting point of your class, right? And where this class have been ended. So this class is ended at this position. What is that class? Employee class, where it has started, okay, and it has ended here. So between these class, you have inserted one more class. You can see here. Okay, so a class which is inserted in another class. This is your inner class, personal, up to this point. Okay, and this is outer class. So inner class is enclosed in outer class, inside the outer class. So this is called as nested class. Now what you have done is, in get method you have taken two values, in display method you have printed those values. Now I'm going to take one more class called personal. Right, in that personal class I have taken instance variable as salary, because salary won't be revealed, right? It can be termed as personal. So that's the reason I've taken personal. You can take your own names there. Okay. Now public void get. So in this get method, whatever the salary I've declared as, I'm assigning 1 lakh for that, and public void display, I'm printing that salary as 1 lakh. Okay. This is public void G and D. Okay. Now this is very important. You have created object for personal class here itself before ending your external class, outer class. Okay, personal obj equals to new personal. You have created object for the personal class, right? Now continuity of program. I need to create, okay, class nested with main function. Right, what I need to do is I need to create object for employee class. So you can see here, this is the object for employee class. So I'm going to create object for that. Employee nobj equals to new employee. Okay. Now I'll say nobj dot get. When I say nobj dot get, cursor comes to this point and is going to take ec equals to 101, en equals to some Kishore, which is given, right? Then afterwards, you need to call display method. Okay, so how I'm going to do is take this one. Okay, nobj.display. Now this display method is present in outer class, so directly you can call with the help of nobj.display, because nobj is the object of your employee class. So you can call the properties. So it goes to nobj.display. So it goes to nobj.display here. It is going to print the value of e code as well as e name. Right, that is done. And second thing, two methods have been done, obj.d, obj.get as well as display. Now I need to call g method as well as d method. But you can see this G method is present in personal class and this D method is also present in personal class, right? So there is an object called obj for this personal class. So in order to access this G as well as D, I need to take the help of two access operators. So what is my first object for outer class for this employee class? It is an obj dot. Okay, here you have the object for personal class. So dot obj dot, and this is an object for personal class, right? So now this obj1 can access G method as well as D method. So I'm going to write here G. Next, I need to call one more method. What is that method? D method, right? Because you have D method also in this. You have called G method, which is completed. Now you need to call D method as well. So which is nothing but nobj dot obj dot D method. Is it point clear? So how many access operators are there? Two access operators. One, two. So you can have two or more than two dot operators. Okay. But in this case, we have only two dot operators. Clear? This is all about nested class. Fine. Next point is method overloading. Okay. So what is method overloading? It includes the concept of polymorphism. So where you have the concept poly refers to many and morphism refers to forms, right? So polymorphism is nothing but it's a concept of many forms. Okay. So now at method overloading, what you're going to do is common method name you're going to take. In the constructors, you have constructors, right? So in method overloading, you're going to take common methods that can be used for any number of times, differentiating them with list of parameters. Now you can see example program for method overloading. Put your concentration, guys, please. This is very important. So class sample you have taken in this int a comma b you have taken. So first method public void get of x. How many parameters are there in this get method? Only one parameter. Okay. Now a value I'm assigning to x value I'm assigning to a and b value is 25. That is fine. Now same get method. How many parameters are there here? Only one parameter. Now same get method, two parameters of integer type. So I'm assigning. See, this x is local to this block itself, and this x and y are local to this block itself. They can't be accessed outside. Fine. So this x value I'm assigning in A and y value I'm assigning in B. Clear? Then afterwards, you have public void display. As usual, you are displaying the values. Now I've taken class method overloading. Main function, here semicolon won't be there. Sample obj equals to new sample. For this sample class, okay, you need to create object. Sample obj equals to new sample. Then what is my next point? I'm calling obj.get of 25. So cursor goes to obj.get here, okay, with the value 25. Now a value will be 25, b value will be 25. Clear? Then afterwards, obj.display. So it goes to display function here, okay. It is going to give 25 plus 25, 30. Sorry, 25 space 25. Is that point clear? This is for obj.display. Now again, you are changing the values and calling this get method with a double parameters. You can see here 42, 42 comma 60. So it is going to take 42 comma 60. Right. Now a value is going to become 42. B value is going to become 60. Then display, you have said obj.display. So it is going to display the value of that particular point, right? So you can see here, A value is 42, B value is 60, which is nothing but 102. Is that point clear? So this is all about the nested class. Then afterwards, we have very, very important topic about the concept called this keyword. Okay. So I'll say you one of the example but let me check the time and we'll cover that in the next class if possible.